Why don't you just talk about the focus for spring camp for yourself personally and the offensive line as a whole?
Yeah, so the focus in spring camp for the offensive line is to get to really like get exponentially better every single day. Really, that's what Coach Chestnut has like stressed to us, and to do much better in our individual periods than we've ever done in the past, and really just like working harder than we've ever done uh, with Navy football. So like, and I can already see it happening within the first 4 days, and we're definitely on the right track. But yeah, like as a O line, just really getting better. And personally, my goal really is, I would say, I mean, it really goes back to Colossians 3:23 and 24. It says, whatever you do, do it heartily as to the Lord and not man, knowing that you receive the inheritance as your reward for you serve the Lord Christ. And really, I'm here. My goal is to glorify Christ when I play football and work hard and set an example. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Pastor McKinney would be proud of you knowing those verses. So in terms of, you mentioned Coach Chestnut. He's now working with the offensive line. That's a difference from the years past. You got both he and Coach Ingram, so you have some carryover. You're very familiar with Coach Ingram, but now you have a new coach. How's that going?
Yeah, so Coach Chestnut is a great coach. It's great having Coach Ingram still. I think they're a good combo to have. They really do play well off each other, and I would say, I mean, they're not playing around, so they're never satisfied, which is a good thing. Definitely, the coaches are not playing around right now, and they're on us at all times. So I think that's it's good to see. It's great having Coach Chestnut. He's also a brother in Christ, so it's really cool to see Coach Chestnut's brother in Christ. And yeah, I mean it's no joke out there.
Well, I found it interesting. Coach Chestnut mentioned that they're not dividing the positions. In the past, Coach O'Rourke took the tackles, and Coach Ingram worked with the centers and guards. What do you think? Apparently, they're both working with all the linemen. Is that correct?
Yeah. So like it splits. Like some days, like they'll take, like yeah, it changes. So and usually what I see now is like the right side will go with one coach, left side with the other coach, and they'll like switch it, and like we're pretty much all together most of the time. Very rarely do we split, and even when we do split, like you said, like it changes. Like we're not always like guards and centers won't always split with one coach, and like it'll switch up. And I think it's definitely intentional, and really, it's like we really don't know what to expect every day. Every day, like it changes, and individual periods are extremely, extremely tough, which is a good thing.
I was just going to ask you. You think that approach is a good approach?
Yeah, I think in order to win, I think we have to be pushed harder in practice, and that's exactly what they're doing. And for myself, like me personally, I would say the last 4 practices the past week were the hardest practice I've ever had at Navy football.
Wow, that's really saying something. In terms of leadership, Kip Franklin was not only the leader of the offensive line, he was a leader of the entire offense, the whole team. How do you replace the leadership of Kip Franklin, who is stepping up?
So I think really, I think as a senior group, there's no like central leader in a sense. Like I'd say as a senior group, we're focused on all 5 of us being leaders out there and setting an example, and like working hard and like making sure that the young guys work just as hard. And really not even just the seniors, like we're really trying to make it like so everybody has a leadership role, because sometimes us seniors, like even we can be slacking out there, and we need a freshman to get us in check. So I think it's a little different this year in that there's no like central leader. Um, but also I'd say the most vocal, the one who does a really good job like getting everybody amped up and stuff is Lyrion. Lyrion does a I'd say if anybody, if I had to pick somebody, it'd probably just be like Lyrion, because he's really good at like talking and getting people like amped up for practice and stuff. So, but overall, I'd say I don't want to pick one, but if I had to pick one, I'd say Lyrion. But for me personally, I don't think that's really our. I don't think that's what we're really trying to get. I think we're all trying to have like some leadership role and stuff.
So the coaching staff sent a message with no depth chart to start spring camp, saying that all jobs are open. I mean, for guys like yourself and others who have been starters, do you take that to heart? I mean, do you feel like you're out there fighting for a job?
Yes, yeah. Honestly, I think it's a really good thing to have that. I mean, I was saying it. I said it every year. Like, there is no starters going into spring ball, and like, and I like the way they base it off. Like, oh, fourth quarter workouts, whoever was performing the highest was going to be on the starting O line. And after the first day of spring ball, the O line completely changed, because then they were basing it off the first practice. So it's practice to practice. So there is no set starting line, and I don't even think there's going to be a set starting line at the end of spring ball. I think by the end of fall camp is when you'll have a solidified O line. But right now, it's we're seeing who the guys who can perform at a high level for all four quarters. And I don't think that's yet to be determined. I don't think it'll be determined until the end of fall camp, not spring ball, but fall camp.
So who are some of the young guards that are impressing you? I mean, is there somebody that maybe didn't play a lot last year that's really stepped up, or maybe a backup from last year who's, looking like they could be a starter? I mean, who are some young guys that are impressing you with their improvement?
So young guys, I would say Purvis. He's going to be a youngster next year. Um, he's a very strong kid in the weight room, and you can see it translate on the field. He's got good. He's really coordinated for his size, and I think he plays really hard. And who else? Let's see. I can only really speak to the guards. I think a guy named Alex Howard he's going to be a second class. He's putting in a lot of work. He's working really hard. I think he's gotten a lot better from last year, with the type of off season we've had so far in this in this off season. And I'm trying to think of the young guys. Tackles, I'd say Javon Bouton for tackle. He's going to be a second class. Right now, he's at tackle right now on the first line, and he's doing a really good job. He's definitely, I think he's starting to like see like what he has to do to be able to play at the D1 level, and I think he's doing a great job out there. Brent Self is another one. He plays center. Brent Self plays center, and he's definitely center is probably, I would say, physically the hardest position, and I think Self is doing a great job. And those are the and Trey Cummings is doing really good at tackle. I think he's doing a great job. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay.
Oh, and Connor, my bad. Connor as well. Connor's also like doing really good out there.
Connor McMahon.
Yeah, Connor McMahon. Yes. He's definitely for his size. I mean, he goes hard. I mean, he's a tall kid. He's not the biggest, but he plays hard.
So there's going to be some new wrinkles offensively. They're installing some new things. How does that impact the offensive line, and how he is learning this spring, because you're going to be doing some new concepts?
Yeah, so it's actually like it's cool to see. It's definitely new stuff, and I think every day we're picking up on it. But like I said, like we got to make exponential improvement from practice to practice, and that's not really happening at this point. But Lord willing, as we go on through spring ball, we'll start making big improvements from practice to practice. But I like the direction we're headed with the offense.
So, a lot of changes expected on offense. I'm just wondering if that changes what you're looking for physically. I know at times you've had guys cut weight. Other times you've looked for a kind of a bigger body type, just especially against odd fronts. I'm just wondering if the pendulum has swung a little bit just with what you're trying to do this year.
No, I don't think so. I think we want big guys that are explosive. We want guys that are athletic, and certainly we want those guys to be in shape and to be able to play the way we want them to play. And a big emphasis so far this spring, and Coach Chestnut's kind of brought this mentality to a certain extent, is we want to be able to win in the fourth quarter. So we're pushing them. We're pushing them hard. We're demanding a lot of them. But I don't think athletically and size-wise we're really changed. So, what we're looking for, we're just looking for big, strong, athletic guys. Obviously, as always, a little bigger inside because that's where the base blockers are, and a little more athletic and longer at tackle because they got a pass pro and they obviously got to block at the second level quite a bit as well.
So when you look at you talk about any changes with this offense, the offense has evolved over quite a bit over years, but a lot of the fundamental blocking rules have really stayed the same. When you look at adjusting for things like the perimeter blocking, is it, do you get nervous about trying out some of the new, the new blocking rules you're going to be doing, and if that affects what you're looking for from and how to teach those things?
Right. Well, I'll say this: my my focus has been on the offensive line and making sure that there's been a lot of change for me because there's a lot of new terminology. There's a new system in place, so it's like learning a new language. So my concern has been really focused on the 5 interior offensive linemen. And not a lot has changed for us as far as the blocking rules that pertains to us. It's no different than it was last year. We can't block below the waist unless it's at the line of scrimmage. Now, if you're talking big picture, I think a lot of the things that Coach Chestnut is trying to do and what we're trying to build out is going forward with the perimeter blocking rules as they are. How do we, still be unique, still run option football, and then how do we kind of have a new approach to blocking on the perimeter and things like that? I think is probably the easiest way to say it. And I think maybe talking with him and some of our other skill guys maybe give you a little more insight about what we're doing there. But there's no doubt that our thought process is how can we block better on the perimeter, considering kind of the new age of college football and what they're allowing us to do.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was a little unclear. When I meant blocking rules, I didn't mean like the rules of football, right, or like the rules of the offense.
Right.
But how much of a learning curve is it for you then to get adjusted to that?
The new schemes?
Yeah.
So there are some plays that I'm very familiar with. And then there are obviously some plays that are going to be unique and new to what we're doing and unique to all of us. So, there is a learning curve there. There's some terminology, there's some communication, making sure we're all on the same page, and then obviously making sure we get that taught to the young men. So, it's been an adjustment. It's been a learning curve, and we're 4 practices in, and I still think that every day that goes by gets a little more crisp and things like that. The biggest learning curve for me has been language. Learning a new language or reintroducing myself to a language that I learned a long time ago in some instances. One of my mentors prior to getting to the Naval Academy was a guy named Tim Stowers, who was the old head coach at Georgia Southern. He had worked with Coach Johnson there, and then he was the head coach. I worked for him at the University of Rhode Island. He was an offensive line coach too. Now, we're 15, 17 years beyond that, and I've been here for a long time. But Coach Chestnut was recruited by and played for Coach Stowers for like 3 years. So there's a lot of meshing of kind of the old terminology and things like that I've learned, and then Coach Chestnut has added to that. So I guess my biggest learning curve has been the kind of the language and things like that. So,
all right. Thanks, Coach.
Scott Wyckoff.
Hey, Coach, how cool is it for you to have this opportunity to be a part
of a staff and a team that's going to try to take this option offense to another level?
Oh, it's cool. It's the coolest thing is I'm still coaching at the Naval Academy, which is a place that I love, and I'm obviously grateful to still be here. I appreciate Coach Newberry giving me the opportunity to stay here. I am super excited about things we're doing on offense. Like I said, there's some stuff we've always done. There's a lot of new things that we're adding. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun as we continue to kind of build out what we're doing. And I think some of the stuff's going to be unique to us that maybe, maybe hadn't been done before in a couple instances. So, no, I'm super excited about it. The guys are working hard. Obviously, we're 4 practices in. They're nowhere near where we would like for them to be. But, they're open-minded. They're working hard. I think they're excited. So we're all excited.
I know defensively, Coach Newberry over the years has talked about his theories and theme of creating chaos for the opposing offense. And I would imagine that would kind of come over in his theme for an offense that he wants you on the offensive line to kind of create some chaos that defensives might not have seen.
Well, I certainly hope that's the case. That's what we're trying to do. And I think the greatest thing we can do as an offensive line, if we want to create chaos, is we've got to be super physical. We got to play really hard. We got to play with great energy. And then the scheme part will take care of itself. But I think if we can do those things, play with great effort, play hard, continue to get better day after day, I think we can do some really cool things here.
In addition to a lot of the work you're doing on fundamentals, I've noticed a lot of work on agility for your big guys early in spring practice. Is that true?
Yeah, I think so. These guys got to be able to move. We want athletes, and that's kind of a prerequisite to play offensive line here at the Naval Academy and to play in this offense. We need big, strong, athletic guys that can move, who are in great shape and are tough and can play for 4 quarters.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
Wags.
Hey, Coach. We've talked to Coach Chestnut, and I just talked to Josh Pena about it, but a new approach this year, instead of dividing the centers and guards, which you were handling, and the tackles, which Danny handled, you all are now working, pretty much with everyone. Can you kind of talk about that approach and how do you think it's working?
I think it's going well. Like I said, myself and Coach Chestnut, we've known each other a long time. Obviously got a lot of respect for what he's done, throughout his career in the high school level, and then what he's done at Kennesaw State. Really what they did starting a program is kind of unprecedented. We have a lot of the same kind of background in offensive line play. Again, there's some terminology things that we're getting on the same page with, but I think it's going well. We're both coaching offensive line. We're meeting together, which we've always kind of done that. And then what we're doing is, as we go through practice, maybe we'll split up. Maybe at some point I'll take the right side or he'll take the left side. Maybe I take the tackles at some drill and he works with the centers and guards. Maybe it flips and I work with the center and guard, or maybe we work on the front side of a protection and I work on the back side of a protection. So we're trying to keep it fresh. And I think it's going really well.
So you have a lot of returning talent. I mean, based on who started the Army game, you lose one starter. Can you talk about, and then, backups as well. Can you talk about having all that experience coming back?
Yeah, it's been good. So obviously we got some guys that have played football here. So that's always a good thing. Those guys, we just had a meeting with them. We need them to be a little more focused on the details. They know what to do, or they should know what to do in most instances. So excited about them. Obviously, they've got to perform better and take their game to another level. And then we're just trying to build backups as well, because as we know here, last few years, we've had a hard time keeping, guys healthy. So we're going to need multiple guys at all those positions. And the mentality is if one goes down, we got to be able to put another guy out there and not miss a beat. So, yeah, it's exciting. At the same time, we're building, out a new offense. So there's a learning curve for these guys as well. So we're just plugging away and trying to get better every single day.
One starter you lost was Kip Franklin at the right tackle spot. I was just talking to Josh Pena, and he said he's been impressed with both Javon Boughton and Trey Cummings. Would it be fair to say those are two of the leading candidates to maybe start at that position?
Javon Bouton is doing well. He's a junior and he's playing some right tackle. I think he has an opportunity. Trey Cummings has been working at tackle too. We've also had Connor McMahon, who started the season last year at the end of the season at guard, who's playing guard and tackle. I think he's also in the mix there too, depending upon kind of where things fall as well. But all those guys are, talented guys that can play football, and we're excited about all of them. We're trying to figure out again, as we always do, how do we get the best five on the field, and how do we get the right people in the right places? And we'll keep working at that till we get it right.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, I'll make another trip around. Mike James.
So kind of to dovetail off of Wags' question about the experience, I think a lot of fans don't understand just the mental side of offensive line play, where guys having to know who to block, calling who's in and out of the count and whatnot, and just how cohesion plays into that, and just knowing, trusting the guy next to you, knowing he's going to block this guy, so to go to this guy, and it allows you to play faster. When you're building out a new offense like that, even with experienced players, do you kind of have to rebuild that confidence a little bit in your teammates, or do you feel like that's something that even with the changes, you're still able to build on that?
I think so. I think that we're doing a few new things, scheme wise up front. And that was just one of our conversations that we had. We're working a play, and guys weren't doing quite what they were supposed to do. And it was almost like a trust issue. They didn't know that someone was there with them on like a combo block or a zone block or something along those lines. So I don't think there's any doubt about that we got to continue to develop trust. Because anytime you're doing something new and there's any kind of hesitancy, it's going to slow you down. So I think we're building on that. I don't think it's going to be a problem whatsoever going forward, but seeing everything through the same set of eyes with those guys up front, kind of one heartbeat, one unit, is certainly something with an experienced group that we hope we'll have this year. And if we're going to have any kind of success, we're certainly going to have to, play that way.
When you work with the guys' assignments and you work through this and you're trying new things on offense, do you ever take a step back and wonder, what, this isn't working, we need to move to something else scheme wise? Is that something that you're evaluating? Are you evaluating kind of the offense in that just as much as you're evaluating the players?
Yeah, I think so. I think we got a pretty good idea of what we want to do. And then it's really kind of the nuances of things. And obviously things are always tweaked and adjusted. We watched practice from Saturday this morning. I think we spent 5 hours and we probably got through half of it. And that's what the conversation was, is in this situation, is this the right thing to do? And are we approaching it the right way? Is this the right footwork? Is this the right aiming point? So that's kind of in essence what coaching is obviously developing players, developing schemes and systems that are going to work, then constantly tweaking those to make sure you get it, the way you want it to, to look.
Thanks, Coach.
Scott Wyckoff.
Coach, on a recruiting front, how exciting has it been for you to kind of have some new enthusiasm and some new people and some new footprints to go into with the recruiting with the new staff?
Well, I think it's always good. And to me, recruiting is just a pretty tedious job at the academy. So energy and excitement and attacking it like you do everything else is certainly important. And it's something you just have to do every day, and you can't get tired of doing it. And having new guys here, hopefully we'll kind of revitalize that a little bit and energize it. So I certainly think that's a good thing.
And when you have new staff coming in with recruiting, does that open doors to new areas maybe that we might not have explored in the past, or some ins that the Naval Academy might not have had with these new faces?
I think so. Coach Lewis, I'm just thought of him, but he's kind of from the Midwest. So maybe there's a little more familiarity in that part of the country. Well, he's lived in California, but he's also lived in the Midwest. Coach, I'm just trying to think of different people. Coach Brown is from the Midwest as well. So I think that kind of opens up to new areas. But yeah, I do think that helps. I don't think I think that's an asset for sure. But really, if you're a football coach, no matter what area they drop you in, you'll work, you'll find players, you'll build a relationship with coaches. So I've bounced around a lot of different areas. I've enjoyed all of it. But I just think having energy and guys here that are ready to recruit, they want to win, they have the team's best interest in mind, and they're going to really work hard at it, I think is always a good thing.
And do you see that enthusiasm reciprocated back from the homes that you're going into now, taking this football program to another level with some of these coaches and ideas that have done so well?
Well, we haven't really been in new homes, with a complete staff. That will not happen until April and May. But we've got a lot to sell here to Naval Academy. This is a great place. It's a great academic institution. It really sets young men up for life. We got a lot of great things going on with the football program. So to me, selling to Naval Academy has never been an issue. And I don't think it's going to be now. I think we've, re-energized a little bit. And so I think we'll hit the ground running, and I think young men will be excited about the opportunity at the Naval Academy as they always have been.
Thanks, Coach.
Wags.
Well, you mentioned some of the new offensive schemes. What does that mean for the offensive line? I mean, I would imagine, Coach Chestnut talked about doing some things that are different. How's that change what the offensive line has to do schematically?
I think our jobs, in essence, is always going to be the same. It's going to be physical up front, to move people off the line of scrimmage, to be able to play hard, get to the second level, block people downfield, play with great effort, play till the whistle blows. Coach Newberry says it all the time. It's not what we do, it's how we do it. That needs to be our calling card. So there will be some new schemes, but I think our main focus is going to be what our main focus has always been. It's when we're good here, we're really good up front. When we're good here, we play really hard up front. When we're good here, we're physical up front. When we're good here, we move people up front. So that is going to be the emphasis. And yeah, there will be some new wrinkles and new schemes. But if we don't move people, if we don't knock people off the football, if we don't play with great effort and great pad level and strainer bodies, those new schemes will not work. So that is the point of emphasis this spring.
I think a couple of people have talked about having some real physical practices. Pena said he went through arguably the hardest practice he's ever been through at Navy. Can you talk about the Coach Newberry that really dialed it up a little bit?
Coach Newberry has. We've had a lot of interaction, but Coach Chestnut has really dialed it up during the OL fundamentals time. So these guys are, it's been a little bit of a shock to their system, which is good. And like I said, kind of the focus that Coach Chestnut is basically brought is we want to win in the fourth quarter. Well, how do you win in the fourth quarter? Is you're in great shape, you're conditioned, you're tough. And there's really only way to get in great shape. There's only one way to get tough, and that's to do tough things. So that's what we're trying to do. And as I told Josh and some of the other guys, well, this is hard, but it's been like 50 degrees. So he's going to get to do this in August here pretty soon. So he better ramp it up again,
Yeah, you got to be physical against this opening opponent. I think I've heard they're a pretty physical team.
I've heard that as well.